So, hello everyone, I am so far really happy to be with you to talk about my research, my work. I'm a PhD student at the University of Geneva, and in this session you're going to have to listen to me twice. So my research project is funded by the Swiss National Science Foundation, and to make it clear, to make it simple, it's about game-based learning in museum context. So this is a picture I took at the beginning of my thesis. It's in a museum, and what can be seen here are teenagers on their phone in a museum being completely bored. And this convinced myself that there must be something to do in order to make them active learners, active visitors, and active players. And this is what the research project is about. So the first game has been developed, Jérôme, I'm going to talk about it right now, for a nature museum in Sion. And then the second game has been developed, HES-SO, for a museum on food production in Vevey, the alimentarium. So with our game, Jérôme, we want to understand from a research point of view how a game can help teenagers to develop critical thinking and knowledge about Anthropocene. So Anthropocene is a new geological epoch characterized by human action, human activities on the planet. This action, all of them, will impact the availability of natural resources, pollution, climate change, and ultimately biodiversity. With goal seeking, a really important skills is the ability to decide what to believe or what to do, and to evaluate the relevance of available information and to make his own decision. And to understand the Anthropocene, teenagers must be aware of their own relationship with knowledge, with environment, and since Anthropocene is a really complex topic, a systemic understanding is needed, as well as critical thinking. So let's talk a little bit about the game. So the gameplay or the playful visit can be divided in four main phases. First, the players are welcomed and challenged by a museum curator who acts as a game master. The game universe is set, and due to bad weather conditions, players or visitors will be stuck in a valley, and they must survive in the museum. And please also, they must take care of that small tree right there. It's really important. As we are nice, we give them a really useful tool to survive, a digital tablet. Divided into teams, they must gather resources to survive. Using the tablet, they can scan the different stuff animal, and depending on the choice they make, they will gain resources. They can, for example, hunt, protect, domesticate, or escape from the animals. This action, all of them, will impact the tree of life. So this frantic search for resources will lead to the depletion of that tree of life. And this tree is a metaphor of the quality of the environment. It's here to describe an abstract concept or a difficult concept, such as ecology, and we translate it in a more comprehensive and concrete way by providing analogy, such as the health of a tree. But at this stage, the tree of life is dead. So, game over. But even though players lost, they are given the opportunity to redeem themselves. Players are then called as wildlife experts. They must solve enigma. There is a lot of strange things going on in that museum. They deal with fake news, with rumors, with polemics related to natural environment. As they make their way to the museum, they will discover new areas, they will find clues and elements of the museum exhibition, allowing them to solve the enigma and to complete an ecosystemic map, which is a really important game mechanics in order to understand all the systematic links between animals and elements of the museum. Once the players have found enough elements of answers, they gather around the museum curators for a debriefing. Players discuss their discoveries, their playing experience with the museum curators, the metaphor is explained, and then the discussion focuses on the information they obtain and the criteria to assess those information. And my workload is not limited to being part of game design team, but I also have to do some research. So, based on a quite complex research method, we design the game and evaluate the way it is being played. So we assess its gameplay experience. Once a game was created, we did an a priori analysis. to allow us to identify conjectures between game design and players' expected behavior. This is equivalent to the game as it should be played. The game as it should be played. Then, based on various observation and experimentation, we did an a posteriori analysis in order to answer the following research question: what are the processes that can emerge and distance players from the game experience that was originally intended? By conducting the a priori analysis, we will get to a better understanding of the actual experience of play. So we had to collect data. What we did, that we equipped some of the players, as you can see on our shoulder, with GoPro camera, and the tablet itself was recording voice message. Sometimes players must answer a question, and instead of clicking, they must record an audio message. And with those data, I did some categorical analysis on the verbatim of what players say and what the players do. And our observation enabled us to identify processes that will shape the playing experience, making it unique and subjective. This is why I call the actualization of players' game experience. So there is a couple of processes that can appear. Continuity, for example, is when players act as expected in the a priori analysis. This is good, this is great. It's when players collaborate actively, when they talk about the game and nothing else. It's when they read the available information and they stay together through the museum. Of course, there is discontinuity. It's when players break momentarily away from the expected scenario, expected behavior. Discontinuity occurs when there is misunderstanding of the rules, of specific in-game information, or short-time physical separation from the group. A major discontinuity could be server errors. It happens sometimes, and when the game crashes, then the game universe is broken. Another interesting phenomenon is divergence. It's the way players process information, even though they are deeply engaged in the game, is central for learning. Indeed, it's expected that players should read and learn about the characteristics of different stuffed animals in the museum. A careful reading is expected and needed and should allow them to understand the relationship between the animal and to question also fake news. However, we observe that some teams, not all of them, just collect information without paying attention to the meaning of this information, which means that they switched the game that was intended to be an investigation game to a quest game. Then there is epistemic obstacle. So, since epistemic obstacle is when players appear to be resistant to the idea that there is not necessarily a single solution for a given problem. This appears because in the game we have complex problem, illustrative problem. We don't have a closed solution, a unique solution, but an open-ended solution. And we realize that some players were really used to have at school one correct answer, and it's not the case in that kind of thematic such as Anthropocene. And then there is unexpected emotion. We were expecting some frustration. Why frustration? Because players always lost during the first phase of the game. The game has been designed in that way that it's impossible to succeed in the first phase of the game. So we were expecting them to feel frustration. When we asked them through a specific interface in the gameplay, they identified joy. So they were having a good time as a main emotion. Some players also were scared because when they go downstairs in the museum, there is like a dark room with a beer, and others were sad because all the animals were obviously dead. So that's it for the main result. It's not the main result, it's part of my PhD result. And as a conclusion, I will say that Geo, this game, teaches us that there is no need for competition in such kind of game. We have deliberately removed any competition time game mechanics. Competition is self-created by the players at certain point of the game. And then players realize that their actions are linked to each other and they start to collaborate between each groups. Then, as I say, teenager and such complex problem is still somehow an issue. So we need to create maybe more games that assess this kind of complexity, and then players must solve ill-structured problem. Then play is subjective. We have designed a certain kind of game, and then we realize that players appropriate themselves this kind of game. And not all of them, but players don't win. It's like, okay, playing is fun, playing has nothing to do with reading, and as long as, even if there is just a little bit text, they are not really motivated to read anything. And last, metaphor is powerful to engage and to introduce knowledge in such game-based learning physics. So as perspective and lead, I would say that I need to further develop specific indicators, specific process in order to assess the gameplay experience. I need to model the playful experience considering these processes, so it's more research perspective. The game itself will be delivered in 1 month, and the museum will be completely autonomous about the way to use it, which is not always the case in a research project. Sometimes we develop a prototype, we try it a couple of times, we collect data, and then the prototype dies somewhere. Now the museum will really use that game as a museum, as a visit device. So bibliography, and I have a couple of papers that are already published, and one will be published in the International Journal of Theory this autumn. So we are still collecting and doing some research about this game. Thank you for your attention.
Questions?
I can answer.
Yes.
So, do you, in your research, look at emotion a little differently? Because there could be emotion caused by just the fact that you're in a museum, you're playing a game, and then obviously that could hide the emotions coming from actual game design, which should be hidden because of the fact that you're in a museum playing a game. You know, so how do you prevent like incorrect emotional data?
So we introduce a specific interface in order to collect emotion, and not all the emotion, but to focus on epistemic emotion. I don't know if you are used to this, but there is emotion in the learning context that could be really useful because they will motivate you to go a little bit further in your research, but they're also really tricky emotion because you can then give up. For example, frustration, you just don't know that little thing that you need to know, so it could be a good thing to create frustration in a game, that until a certain point, you fall in boredom. So with the teachers, it's in French, but we had to introduce that drag and drop emotion self-reported interface, and at 3 points during the game, for example, when they lost, when they find some information that are contradictory, and at the end of the game, they must fill this emotion self-report questionnaire. And for example, boredom, we just say that I'm getting bored, or curiosity, I wasn't expecting this, and they just drag and drop, and they can add up to 2 emotions. And we were expecting a lot of frustration, and they were just maybe joyful and curious. So this was a part of the game, but I think if you want to understand the playful experience, emotion is one aspect of them, and then there is lots of other aspects to monitor and to test. Does it answer a little bit? Yeah.
Other questions?
The first picture you showed the teenagers, it seemed to be in an art museum.
Yeah.
And this is a more topical museum, so how do you think that would change the design of a game for such a museum?
Of course, in our project, we had those partners as museum. And for sure, an art museum has other objective, another scenography, museography, and it will be quite challenging to create a game for an art museum. I had this picture because it was really at the beginning, and I was, okay, this is how teenagers act in that kind of museum, and there must be something that we can do a lot.
So how do you think you would handle designing a game for an art museum?
Maybe with some AR, when you scan an image, then there is something that could appear and make, also creating links between more storytelling, narration, enigmas, so all kinds of playful experience like this. But so far we don't have any research project with an art museum. Maybe in the upcoming years.
I know that they tried something in the Van Gogh Museum of Van Gogh in Amsterdam, but I don't think it truly worked yet. So that's why I was wondering if you looked into it.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Any more questions? I think we should go to the next paper. Thank you very much. So the next one is Time Travelers from Maria Plukova from the HES, School of Art and Design at HES-SO Genève. And there is like a video that she did, which she cannot attend today.
My name is Plukova Maria. I'm first year student of Master of Design at Geneva. Today I'm going to present work Time Travelers. Thanks to Geneva Media Design Department, this resource has been possible. The context. Time Travelers is a unique project that aims to explore the concept of time and how it is perceived by individuals. The project uses storytelling, 3D design, and electronic components to create an interactive experience that immerses the audience in the world of time. The question of what time means to each individual is at the heart of Time Travelers. The project seeks to understand how people feel time, whether it's fast or slow, and whether it's something that can be controlled or something that controls us. As players move through each world, they are presented with challenges that require them to perform certain gestures. These challenges are unique to each time traveler. By helping the characters overcome these challenges, the player are able to develop their connection to the characters and gain a deeper understanding of their stories. Overall, Time Travelers is fascinating and innovative projects that push the boundaries of storytelling and technology. It offers a truly immersive experience that encourages audience who aimed at the children audience to reflect on their own perception of time while engaging with the diverse range of characters and narratives. Targeted issue. Interacting with fictional characters is natural language raises new design and answering questions. What steps can be taken to ensure that the time travel characters are represented in a unique and authentic way, drawing from a range of personalities and perspectives? How can we address potential user difficulty in reproducing such a gesture required to progress through the game? What strategies can be implemented to ensure that the game is accessible and inclusive for users, regardless of their abilities or backgrounds? Proposed solution. In developing the project, interviews were conducted to answer several questions. What is time for people? Their association with time, how quickly does it pass for them? I found that every person has a unique perspective on time, preferences and opinions about the meaning of time. For example, for your boy, when I asked what time is to him, the answers was that time for him is 100 hours. Based on this, I created 3 characters, a child, a teenager, and a grandmother, to demonstrate the different perceptions of time at various ages. These characters were introduced authentically, reflecting different personalities and perspectives. The next task was to determine how users would interact with these stories and what form of input would be most effective, given that for implementation, I plan to use the Arduino system and create the shape using 3D printing technology. I decided to use the hand gestures as input and the narrative source as output. This allowed users to emphasize with the character perspective of time and interact with the story through intuitive hand movements. Project results. This resulted in a prototype device which was done using Arduino, a tool to design electronic devices, using the Arduino system, sound sensor, and accelerometer. perspective and needs. This project is still being finalized. Future step will allow us to refine a number of points and turn the prototype into a finished product. Thank you so much for your attention. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me by phone or email address. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. So now we are going to the next paper, which will be presented by Yannick Rochat from the University of Lausanne. And his paper is Lausanne 1830 Histoire de Registre. So I guess it will be about the valorization of historical data.
Hello everybody. It's a strong feeling for me because I came here a long time ago and I was still a PhD student. I was starting with postdoc and I was wondering if one day I would be on stage and what I would be presenting that day. So I'm very happy here to be able to talk about this project. It was in 1830 Histoire de Registre. The game is available in English. It was natively written in French. You can play it online with the website lausanne1830.ch. Please, if you want to do that, wait until the end. This project was founded by the EPFL, the College of the Humanities, and was created by the Game Lab in the EPFL, some members of EPFL, some members of the University of Lausanne, and the game studio Digital Kingdom. I will detail this a bit more later. So with this project, we wanted to showcase, to allow to explore Lausanne 2 centuries ago. And we had a few ambitions with this project. First, we wanted this project to be designed by our own graduate students. We wanted to collaborate with historians, especially from the Lausanne Time Machine Initiative, which is digitizing archives from Lausanne, and with game developers, people with experience, because we do game studies, we do game analysis, we do a lot of things with the games, but you don't improvise yourselves as game designers. So we were happy to collaborate with Digital Kingdom, and we wanted this project to be conceived as a teaching resource in schools for teenagers from 12 to 15 years old. And we also had to create some pedagogical sequences, additional material for the teachers. We had other objectives. We wanted to create an educational game which did not compromise on gameplay and entertainment value. So I'm going to show you how we did that. So I'm always thinking back to this driving license theory tests. You can practice. At the time it was on a CD round, and you're just doing quizzes for a few hours, and then you can pass the test easily. We wanted to do the opposite of that. And we wanted to showcase these digitized archives. So there are like canisters. We had a register of all people who were living in Lausanne at the time, and some, of course, we had some images, paintings, stuff like that, digitized press too. And we wanted our students to be able to practice and to learn how to create games. So we hired 3 students, but this was outside the curriculum, so we paid them to work on the project. There was a narrative, game, and level designer. This is one person. There was someone in charge of the graphism, especially the pixel art, and somebody in charge of programming. So this is an image. This is the first screen, you see when you leave the guy responsible for the register and you start exploring the city. This is the Place de la Palue in Lausanne. And you see that it's a bit inspired by games like some of the Zelda games, some of the Final Fantasy games, Secret of Mana, stuff like that. We didn't want to compromise on the graphism, so this was a big part of the development because we wanted the kids to really have fun, to want to explore this environment. We also had to give an interesting tasks to do. So we got inspired by Obradin, which was released a few years before, and which allow you to explore the game, to play the game by just gathering information. So we created such a notebook. Right? Ours is a bit shorter than the one we see on the right, but we had all this historical data about Lausanne, and then some of them were missing, and they are hidden in the environment of the game. So this is how we've been working. For example, here to create this first scene. We spent a month on this one because it was our vertical slice, our prototype. We had to make it work before we could develop the rest of the game. So of course we had to cut a few nice to have and a few other scenes, but we had to have this one working. It's also used as some kind of tutorial. There is one first tutorial, but the first enigma is also entirely solved in this place. So as you can see, we had characters, we had a few written sources. On the right bottom, you have digitized press. We also had images. And from that, we could reconstruct this Place de la Palue. One very interesting thing here that I love to show up front is that, in fact, it's not the Place de la Palue. Buildings were not like that, the floor was not like that. Maybe you can recognize some of the buildings, the town hall, but everything is stick together because it's a video game and you have to have things fitting in the scene. It's not a 3D game. And so one of the first things we teach to the children when we go in the classrooms with this game is that this is a video game and we had to have everything fitting together. But when we play, it's not historically accurate. And when you are playing video games in general, you have to know that people have to make choices when they're designing the games, and you don't have to take everything for face value. Another example, when we had to create this contract, which has a few ints inside of it, so we took some historical sources, and we had to pixelize them. So you see it's a bit more dense, it's difficult to read on the left, we had to keep some of that original feel. We also created a map of the game. This is another compromise because people didn't have maps at the time. So this is some official map on the left. We also took some canisters and we created a map that you are using on the right. And then once again, when we go in the classrooms, we explain to them that this kind of material is here because it's a video game, not because it was used at the time. Of course, there are many things which totally existed at the time that you can see in the game. For example, some of the jobs, some of the places, all the people are taken from the registers, the number of kids they had, their names, their position. So a few other scenes here. Top left, you can see people brewing beer. A few ads on the right, and here, bottom right, is the outside of the brewery. It's near the front. If you've been to Lausanne, maybe you know the front. It's a neighborhood. At the time, it's still nowadays a river. At the time, the river was outside. So kids, when they go there, they're like, what is this? Where is this place? What is the front? And then we can contextualize and start talking about the river, but also about the fact that upstream, on the river, it's another scene. You had people polluting it. For example, there was a butcher, a leatherman who was putting all the dead corpses of the animals in the water. So here in the scene, you have someone who is sick, sit because the water is polluted. So there's a lot of hidden things inspired by historical facts that can lead then to the organization, to the animation of pedagogical sequences. So as an output, we started, once we had this first scene, we started playtesting the game in different classrooms. So we had at least once a month a test. We always had new builds that we could show. We were gathering a lot of very interesting feedback. So of course, the game was always too hard. We had to ease it. We had also to redesign some things, to create new tutorials, explanations. We didn't want to have too much text, so we had to find solutions through mechanics and not through adding more text. We are working, it takes a lot of time, but we are working in collaboration with schools, the school system involved to try to have a game inserted into the program. So we had a lot of teachers who used the game in their classes, but it was their own initiative, so we would like to have something which is a bit more systemic. And we were very happy last year, in the last Swiss Game Awards, to win the serious game category with this game. So here is the development team. The three students were Sarah Jones, who has now been hired as a game designer, so we are happy for her. And we think it's a success also for the work projects. Sarah Jalon, who was in charge of the graphism, and Andrew Davis, who was in charge of the programming. I was working as a lead with my colleague Céline Christian and with Isabella Leonardo from the Time Machine Initiative. And we've been working with external experts, so René Bianchi, Rémi Petitpierre, Lucas Rappo, Simon Dupin-Travaux. There's also, I think there were some other people helping, but these are the main ones. And of course, we had a lot of chance to be able to work with Digital Kingdom from Vevey. So they were supervising our students. They helped us a lot at the beginning of the project to choose, in fact, what kind of game we wanted to do, which kind of game mechanics we wanted to have. So it was very fruitful for us to have this collaboration. So the game is available online. We had to create our own websites because the school system in Vaud has a lot of different locks, which we had to circumvent. That's it, I think. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. And there's any questions from the audience? I have, yes.
Yes, thank you Eric, for your nice talk. I have a question about the pedagogical scenario. Did you design the pedagogical scenario so that you have a debriefing or something like that? And can you give us some insight about what you did in the classroom?
Yeah, so what we did at the beginning, so we started programming the game, designing and programming the game, and then we asked some of the historians who worked with us to create such pedagogical sheets. So we created a few scenarios where, for example, every time we let the children play the game for 45 minutes, because it's more or less the time we need to play the game, we do that for free. We can give them a small introduction or a few hints at the beginning. And then with the teacher of the classroom, we go back to all this material. So often what we do is go through the historical material we were using. And this is how we experimented at the beginning. But right now we've been working both with teachers and with tacticians. I don't know how to call that, because we realize that it's not easy to improvise yourself as a teacher, and that we need to go more in detail, working with teachers build this structure. So that's what we're doing right now. We are adapting what we did at the beginning. So yeah, I would say there was a lot of improvisation at the beginning, that we are now turning in material which is experimented in the classrooms with the teachers. So I cannot go into more detail. There's already some of this stuff which is on the website, but it's currently being adapted. So I think it's going to be closer to what's used in the classrooms in a few months. Thank you for the question.
I have a following question. Now, you say that you created this game, and now what about it? Can you add content into the game, or what is the future of the game? Is it static, or are you going to add content that is fun?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. It's so the game is finished. We had some time and some remaining budget to create the English version and to correct a few bugs. But right now the project is not under development anymore. But the thing is that everything is open source, even the images. So there is the system, there are the images and all the text. So either people can do some pull requests on GitHub and contribute to the project and create new scenes. This is highly improbable. But somebody could launch a new project and adapt this one to another geographical context, for example. So yeah, it's still open to development, but probably not by us.
Thank you. Any more questions? Thank you very much. So the next paper will be as well like a video, I guess, right? Yeah. So this is as well a project from the HES, School of Art and Design at HES-SO Geneva. And the author is Narges Madani, and his paper is In My Time of Loss.
Hello everyone, I'm Narges, a master's student in media design at Geneva. I want to present my project In My Time of Loss, an interactive story and narrative game with a set of cards. The background of my project includes different notions, importantly how games as media can help our grief. Grief is an emotional response to loss. One of the coping strategies is remembering memories. Reminding memories of the lost one is important as it reinforces their presence within us, keeping their essence alive in our minds. Games designed for grieving individuals have the potential to offer emotional expression and for promoting healing. To answer the questions on this slide, I became familiar with the notion of individuation by Carl Gustav Jung. My project focuses on Jungian individuation and grief integration to promote self-realization and personal growth. By exploring emotions and memories related to the loss, individuals can integrate them into their evolving selves, leading to healing and growth. Jungian individuation is a milestone in the ideation of my projects. In my project, I explored the concept of emotional synchronization and its relationship with time. When people feel affection for each other, they experience synchronized heartbeats, breathing, and emotions. But how can we synchronize with our deceased loved ones? One way is by remembering their memories and keeping them alive within us. Firefly synchronization was a captivating form of communication for me. In Japanese culture, fireflies symbolize lost loved ones. Their synchronized illuminating metaphorically represents the emotional connection between individuals and their departed loved ones. Also, Jungian individuation is like journeying through a labyrinth of the mind, where we explore our inner depth while gaining personal growth. All these inspirations helped me in creating a narrative for this project. This project explores various aspects of grief and offers meaningful coping mechanics. facilitates self-realization, self-compassion, and the search for meaning through a neutral story in play experience design. The interactions and symbols create a magical sense, providing comfort during this experience. I wrote a story using ANTOINE software about a person who is trying to explore their lost one. I made a narration with different branches in which we can choose different ways to experience different outcomes in the story. In the story, the character finds a maze-shaped bracelet. It's a map of a special garden. With each step, she gets closer to her goal. Along the way, she faces two paths and has to make important decisions. One path, or storyline, which is existential, is about remembering or forgetting her loved one. And the other, which is spiritual, is about believing or doubting. These choices determine what happens next in the story. In the story, fireflies light the way while we can see the same path and the bracelet is also lit. They show us the right direction and the path we chose. After writing the story, I tried to create an interactive game that emotionally connects the player with the protagonist. Using the second-person point of view, I tried to do this. The game incorporates the Jungian archetype of the labyrinth as a metaphor for the journey of self-discovery and grief. The labyrinth is a metaphor of the brain, and the journey is our self-discovery. Lights in the game serve as guides, inspired by fireflies in Japanese culture, symbolizing the presence of the lost person. I decided to make the same bracelet in the real board so that the player can feel that she or he is the character of the story. On this bracelet, the labyrinth garden can be seen, and we can see the paths of light when we are in a specific direction. On each path of the maze, some lights can be lit with different storylines we choose. To create this experience, I used Arduino, a touch sensor, so we can control the bracelet and be decisive to choose the paths of the story. The touch sensor senses our touch, and we can choose paths by touching them and light the ways with touching. Also, I researched the interactions suitable for mourning and individuation, and I chose to touch the back of the hand, hand caress, because of its empathizing meaning. This can give a sense of empathy, create the image that the lost person is soothing us, and give us a sense of self-care. Based on the story, I made cards with the storyline illustrations that you can see here. This is a picture of bracelet development and its prototype, which was functional. This game offers 4 stories with different endings. The labyrinth bracelet acts as a guiding map. Through touch-sensitive light patterns, the bracelet corresponds to specific cards, leading to varied outcomes. We can choose to remember or let go of memories and believe or doubt in spirituality. Ultimately, we can discover the importance of keeping our loved one's memory alive by finding them in ourselves. As you can see, the process of using the bracelet is shown in this slide. You can touch the back of your hand and make the pattern of lights, and then you can find the pattern of light on the back of the cards, read the story, see the illustration, and go on. The narrative game In My Time of Loss utilizes a bracelet as a map to guide players through a labyrinth of life paths, exploring themes of grief. The 4 branches of the story delves into the complex emotions of grief, emphasizing self-reflection and introspection. The game serves as a therapeutic tool, offering a thought-provoking and engaging experience. To enhance the sense of closeness and presence of the lost loved one, the wearable device can incorporate heat generation during player interactions. Also, the project is a demo with short branch stories. The perspective for this project is writing more stories with different grief approaches. Thank you so much for listening to me.
is always on the stage. So, so the paper is AL-2049, a playful museum visit to brush the issue of complexity.
Okay, so it's me again. Where is the remote for the slide? I stole the remote. Okay. So I'm still working in this research project on Game Buzz Running in a museum, and it's a second game that has been designed for another museum, a museum about food production. So, still processing with our game can help teenagers to develop critical thinking and knowledge about food production. So, food production and complexity are relatively complex topic, and the complexity and systemic nature of food production is due to diverse factors, including cultural aspect. I don't know about you, but who here enjoy eating insects? Nobody. And well-being and health, food variety and nutritious food may improve your health. You know about that. Pollution, food production can have significant environmental impact, such as intensive livestock farming can generate greenhouse gases emission, thereby contributing to climate change. And there is also the management of limited source of energy, human energy, fossil energy. Food production will require a lot of energy, whether human, sustainable, or fossil-based energy. And the challenge we faced was to design a game allowing museum visitors to understand the systematic relation between those factors during a game museum visit. But we didn't face it alone. We collaborate with Digital Kingdom, where game developers, game designers, IT engineers who were in charge of the development of the game. So they accept us, even though we were researchers, because we needed to collect data and we wanted to go further in that research project. We also have with us some teachers, and it's always useful to have teachers with you because they know their students more than us. And we had access to classroom, we could prototype and test with them. And they were already involved in our previous game, the one I just presented before. And of course, museum staff members were also deeply involved in the game design process. And all together, we went from ideation. So what we did first was the game jam, where we had first idea about game mechanics and a game that should allow us to understand the interrelation in this food system. Then the Digital Kingdom's game designer did an amazing prototype paperboard, and we tested with the teachers. Then the team started developing, adding concept, visual concept as well, and they developed the game. So it was firstly tested, not in the museum, in classroom, with students on tablets, and then it was, on the last pictures, implemented in the museum. This is where the game began. And we came back to have some experimentation and data collection about the game. So let's have a look at the game itself. The pitch is the following. Isolated from the rest of the world, you have to recreate the right environment to feed the population stuck in the museum for the next 20 years. So let's have a look at how it began. It was working before, it's alright. Here we go without it. I can just explain. So players are welcomed by the game master, a game curator, museum curator, and he pitches them the game, he explains them how they must play, and give them some talent. And the players start wandering around in the museum. They have a map to find themselves, and they must feed a short population. So this is the main gaming interface. What can be seen up there is food production. So the aim of the game is to feed 30%. Why 30%? Because in a class, we are between 20, 25, 27, and with the museum staff, people right there, we could be around 30, so we choose to be 30%. There is, of course, loss, food production loss, and there is energy that is available, like full fossil energy, so we can use machine in order to produce some food, sustainable energy, and people. We can give tools to people in order to feed themselves. And they have a map of the game, and they can allocate some space in order to produce some food. And the main game mechanics is to move around in the museum and find some physical space and then allocate various units. For example, you can choose between livestock farming, pigs, chicken, cattle, sheep, fish, insect. Otherwise, you can have some cereal, pearls, market gardener. You can have a processing facility, which will help you to reduce food loss. What can be seen here as the first systemic between, if you want to have a process facilities, you first need to have some animals. There is an agronomy laboratory, which gives you some bonus if you use it right. And then there is food facilities that will reduce your food loss. You can add a market, a restaurant. And you can decide between those allocations. And then, for example, she chooses to have some fish. So the map of the image changed, and the museum has now a fish producing unit, and so on and so on. So what can be seen? It's now I have a better food production, but I still have some place to allocate. And I did it by myself. I went quite full green with a lot of cereals, pigs, chicken, a restaurant. And I fit even more than 30%, so which is quite good. I think I have achieved the game. I should have won. And I still have a couple energy available. But that's where the complexity begins. Because now I can go forward in time. Let's see how this population feel and live in 10 years. And we realize that it's not so well. So okay, everybody survived, good to know, but my population is here. Why are they here? It's not because of the nutritive variety, which is quite good, but because of pollution and greenhouse gases. And about the well-being, my population feels good because there is a good balance between pleasure, doing something else than working for food production, and workload. And now players will face complexity, and they go back in time and try to improve their food production system. As you can see, there is nothing that appears on the interface. So there is a health gauge, which is quite low, and the well-being gauge, which is quite good now. And also some pictograms that will give you some insight about where you can try to improve your food production system. What can be seen here, it's there and there. I have a lot of greenhouse gases because I allocate some fossil energy. So okay, let's try, we will remove all the fossil energy. So this is what I did. And just look at the gauge up. So I remove all the fuel energy. I had to remove them with sustainable energy and people working. So now the well-being is quite low. But the health is a little bit better, but I even had to sacrifice one space. So I have less food, and people die. And now players are facing complexity. And the game mechanics is all about that. All try to compromise between people who live, okay, but in a good health, with a lot of nutritive variety or not, and with well-being. And going on and on and on, players will try to optimize their food production, but you know what? They will never have a full gauge. So, still a research project as well. So we had the opportunity to have a mixed method, such a qualitative process with audio records, still with my GoPro camera, and also the game is producing a lot of trust, thanks to digital feedback to add a server, and we can do some quantitative analysis of the gameplay experience. The perspective is needed, first on a research perspective, we are so far collect until 100 parties, so the game is fully played, and we need a little bit more to do some more quantitative research. And the game could evolve in something even more virtual with holoclasses. But I see some disadvantage about this. For example, it was a collective game, and then you are alone by yourself with your classes, but you can directly allocate some peaks in various spaces of the museum. This could be a potential perspective. The take-home message will be that this game teaches that there is not a perfect and unique solution for food production. I'm sorry to say that it will be a huge challenge to feed the population in the future. And players, teenagers, must learn about it. A resource management game, which is a resource management game, can be metaphorical because we had to take a really complex system and to simplify it in a small museum where resources are limited, space is limited, and energy as well. And everybody can play R2049, not only the teenagers. At the beginning, we were expected to have a game for players between 12 to maybe 20, and we have even tested with players that are 8 years old. They don't really understand the systemic systemic, but they still have fun in the museum, and adults as well have a lot of fun playing it. The topography, and of course, kudos to Digital Kingdom, the team who did an amazing job to develop this game. Thank you. You can press the game with the tiny URL right there. Thank you.
Any question? Yes.
Thank you so much. I was wondering, how is it possible that the population feel so sick and be very pleased? I mean, if people are like, I would say 20% of the population is sick, it's an issue, and if they are very sick, and they are happy, how is it possible? It was a slide 14.
There. So if they're really sick, can they be happy? Yeah, somehow it depends. If they're really sick, can they be happy? Not really, not really. So somehow there is something wrong there. But sure, health and well-being is quite connected together. you have a lot of fun because you don't have to work, but at the same time, some people are in a bad shape and a bad mood. So could be maybe a bit better balance. But most of the times, players have a really low score of health and really low score of well-being. And then they decide to focus on one of the factors. For example, they decide that it's okay if we are 10 people alive, but all of us are in good health and well-being, and I don't care about the 20 who are dead. So we see a lot of playing strategy that are connecting with ethics as well.
Any more questions? Yes.
Thanks for your talk. I guess my question is related to the other one. How realistic are the game mechanics? I guess you have to. I mean, what were your sources? And a very quick one. Why 2049?
Okay. So we had some scientific sources, and it was all about pondering that action in comparison with another one. So we had in our team the director of the museum who was really involved in this kind of food production. I know lots about it, much more than me. Also a colleague of mine, and the work was based on scientific documentation. ALP 2049 is related to a science fiction book, I guess. That was instead IE 2049, something like this. So, and 2049 also with the idea that let's see how the population will feed themselves in the future.
Any more questions? Okay, so I think we can close the sessions. Thank you.